Beef Machine 1990. Oh, there. You know what? There was a super chat from last time. I don't remember exactly how it was worded. It was from Gudmundur Thor Carlson. I was asking about socialism in Libya and Gaddafi's Green Book. I don't remember the exact wording, but he's asking, like, what about this, Gaddafi's Green Book, and didn't Libya have free healthcare and free education and free everything, and it was so great and great economy of Africa? Yeah. For Africa, it was good, but you got to realize most of Africa is socialist. Most of Africa sucks. Gaddafi ended up having to abandon his Green Book because things were so bad, but they did nationalize the oil, and they did try to spin that, and they did have free healthcare, and they did have free education, and sometimes they had subsidized housing. But what were the quality of those free enterprises? So looking at Libya, never got above like 85% in literacy, which is pathetic. I mean, it's even prior to 2011 takeover Al-Qaeda, you've got almost 15% of the population can't read and write at all. Not everywhere else, every first world nation is 99% literacy. Libya, about 84 at its best. And that's after they started abandoning the Green Book. Prior to that, they had like 64% literacy. So yeah, great, free school. Adults can't read and write. As for the free healthcare, most serious cases, they had to ship them abroad because they couldn't handle it. They had an AIDS epidemic. They had lots of problems with healthcare. And the few educated they did have is what Gaddafi did. It was sort of a smooth move, is he would have you pay for you to go abroad to some other university in the West, learn your skills, and then come back to Libya. And if you came back to Libya, he gave you benefits with housing, etc. And so it's like, if you'll go somewhere else that has a functional system and get a real education, in return, we'll give you a giant house and whatever you want, so that he could try to prevent that brain drain from occurring. But ultimately, Gaddafi was a dictator, and Libya sucks. It was better than some of their neighbors, but man, look at Mali. Look at the corruption there. But if you want to look at the per capita, they're like, oh well, because Israel does have, or not Israel, Libya has a lot of oil, and so there was a lot of wealth generated from that. If you're just looking at raw statistics of the per capita income versus just the raw GDP, but it doesn't. GDP per capita doesn't matter when it's like 2% is in the entire thing and the rest didn't have anything at all. But Libya has about 6 million people, and I think their GDP at best was like 80 billion. Normally it was more like in the 40s. You look at Norway, which has about 5 million people, and their GDP is about 430 billion. So, yeah. 10 times as big, with a smaller population. Very similar. They also nationalized their oil-centric, etc. But they had Nordic capitalism. Libya had mostly socialism. They did start privatizing and stuff near the end in the 90s and things, which did improve some things. But on the whole, it was just another despotic, shitty African country. Sad. The problem with Africa is not Africans, it's not lack of resources, it's none of that. It's neocolonialism and domestic corruption. And I made a movie about it. You can go watch that later. It's called Neocolonialism in Africa. Okay, so back to the question.